Welcome to Truth Be Told About Going Wild. I'm your host, Robert Hensley, and this is the podcast inspired by the principles of personal rewilding. Over the past few weeks, we've been talking about the foundational principles or the pillars of personal rewilding. We've talked about wild being, wild rhythms, and today we're going to start talking about taking wild action. So many people face dread and anxiety when faced with the question, and it's the big question, right? Or the big question. Why are we here? What is our purpose? And the only answer that I have found, and the answer that kind of gives me comfort, and I should warn you, I am not a staunch Christian. I have no real kind of delineated religion or faith. I believe that there's something bigger in the world than myself. But I will say that part of this answer came from the Bible. And it's an early translation of the Bible, one of the earliest translations that I could find. And in that text, which I look at as sometimes more as a novel, sometimes as a potential history book. But in the book of Genesis, in this early text, Adam, the first man, was given the role of steward in the Garden of Eden. He was to care for and nurture the land and name the animals. He was also tasked not to eat the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So when we start looking at what that means to be a steward, stewardship literally means to provide loving care. As I researched what that early text may have meant, or if there was more depth to that, we find that there's a list of responsibilities that many theologians believe go with God's order to Adam, right? And that was to cultivate the garden. He was to work the soil, plant seeds, water the plants, harvest fruits, and prune the trees. He was to name all of the animals in the garden. He was to protect the garden from harm. So if we look at what, was supposed to be, potentially could be, the first human, the first of our species on this planet, living in relationship to the land, right, in nature, that was the purpose. That was why we are here, right? That purpose hasn't changed. What has changed is the distance that has been placed between man and nature. So when we talk about taking wild action, we're talking about getting back to the role of steward. Some people find simple daily tasks that allow them to feel that they are providing that loving care for nature, for the environment. Others feel that that's not enough. They go a little further, and wild action becomes activism. And that's fine. I think the important thing that we recognize is that in the process of rewilding, of rekindling our relationship with nature, understanding our role as stewards is that the importance, the emphasis is on the relationship, right? Because we don't tend to care for the things that don't matter to us. Right? And so the more that we are told that we have dominion over, or that we lord over, that we have ownership of, the less we feel that we have to do, right? That we can do what we want. We can destroy it if we want to. We can turn it into something else if we want to. And that there is no consequence for our actions. And we all know that that is not the case. So I would say, for me, personal rewilding offers the opportunity to recognize the care that we receive from nature, what we get from the natural world, and how little we're asked to give back. And that if we cannot find a connection to or a relationship with the natural world, we will never truly understand or honor our purpose or position here on this planet, our role within the natural world. Because whether or not we want to admit it at this particular point, we are nature, right? We are natural beings. We were meant to be part of the natural world. We have, over time, evolved into beings who are, I don't want to say contaminated, but pushed further away from the natural path, right? Which I think that we can all admit that we probably are too focused on processed foods and ease and convenience. It seems so efficient. It seems like it saves us time and energy. But what it's really costing us, not just in money, but really costing us, is the world that we're meant to live in, that we're meant to be a part of, right? So like in our last episode, we talked about, the interest in urban gardening and how that could help bring us back into wild rhythms, right? It starts putting us in a mindset where we're focusing on the phases of the natural world and what that implies for growing things. Also, how that allows us to put our hands in the dirt and feel connected again to our wild being, our wild self, right? To remember the connection that we have with nature. And again, all of that leads us forward to stewardship, right? That is the connection we were meant to have, the relationship we're supposed to have, that we're supposed to be cultivating, right? So with that being said, next episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about stewardship. We're going to talk about specific things that we could do, how we can do those things, and really kind of dig into our role as stewards. Remember, there are 3 opportunities each week for new content from Truth Be Told on the Club Paranormal channel, on YouTube, Tony Sweet on Fridays with the original Truth Be Told, Bonnie Burkert on Wednesdays with the Truth Be Told Transformations, and of course, Truth Be Told About Going Wild on Mondays. All 3 of those shows happen at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern. We really love that time slot. And if you have questions, concerns, you'd like to know more about personal rewilding or some of the services that I offer as a rewilding coach, please visit my website. It's www.rhnaturereconnect.com. Again, that's rhnaturereconnect altogether.com. And until next time.